and anyone who's going to take this on, I am very pleased to welcome her to our home, to welcome you guys to our home, and please come back. And now I'll let Rebecca tell you why she's so great.
Thank you, Angela. So I want to thank Angela and Jeff for immediately signing on to this independent cause, and also thank all of you for coming, and for every one of you that's here. So many more people immediately responded and sent contributions online, which is just a wonderful thing, to make phone calls during the day and wake up in the morning, and people have gone to PayPal in the night. So it's very gratifying, and it shows that there is a large group of people who really understand why we're doing this and what this is really about. I have to thank also my husband David, who seldom gets to come out to these events. And that is because we have one child in Israel and one at camp. We've been married 27 years, and as I was making notes for today, I realized that for fully 50% of that time, I've been pretty much fully involved in community service, and he has made it possible.
Good for you.
So, that's for you. I know so many of you, but there are a few new people, and now that we're stepping this up to run for a state level office, there are a lot more people who are going to get to know me. So I was thinking with the water running of a Talking Heads song, and David Byrd sings, "How did I get here?" I had the opportunity twice this year to talk to young women, once to a Girl Scout troop, and once through the League of Women Voters to high school girls from Patterson and Mountain Lakes high schools in a program called Running and Winning. And that was a great opportunity to really think about, how do you get here? And I think that for the young women I spoke to, I was able to, in telling them my story, show them that if they're passionate about just one thing, and then they speak up about it, they can really make a difference. And you don't know where it will lead. In my case, it started when Audra, who just turned 13, was a baby and slow to walk. And I got sucked into a neighborhood association group, which led to the renovation of a playground that was between a wealthy neighborhood and a rent-controlled apartment building that had been pretty much forgotten. By the time we were done with that project, Mayor Delaney, a Republican, appointed me to the planning board. And at that point, we started to identify areas in need of redevelopment around Morristown and to begin to lay plans for how to redevelop them in a way that would be sustainable, welcoming, and valuable to the town while retaining its historic character. 2005, and as those plans went to the council, I was kind of astonished by what I saw going on or not going on. And then we had a former mayor who said he was going to run again. And just sensing viscerally that this was not the best thing for the town of Morristown, I fielded an independent candidate for mayor in 2005. Many of you and many, many more people immediately got behind that effort. And in fact, while we didn't win in that three-way race, our independent candidate got 40% of the vote. Wow. And pretty amazing accomplishment in just a few months. That organization, that grassroots group of people that we had started are still very much in connection with each other. And they managed to get local pay-to-play reform, which I supported, adopted at the ballot. Twice we worked to overturn raises at the ballot that the mayor had given himself. And by 2007, when I was looking for a candidate to run for council, I was asked to run, and as an independent, I did, and defeated a Democrat who was looking for, I believe, his fourth term in office. And a lot of people said it couldn't be done, and guess what? We did it. In 2011, I was really very excited about running for re-election. And again, with the support of so many people in the community, despite facing initially Democrat and Republican opponents, won with over 80% of the vote. And it's just been, from working with a Republican mayor who put me on the planning board to Democratic Mayor Doherty, who's here today, an opportunity to give back and do so much for our town. We are in better financial shape than we've ever been. I've been very conservative on fiscal issues. I even voted against a large solar panel installation, I have to admit, because the finance of it at the time was not something I would have wanted our household to invest in. Payback was just too long. But we've cut spending, we've reduced the workforce by 10%, we've cut a third, $23 million off of our municipal debt. Our town is financially in great shape. In addition to those reforms that I mentioned, I, upon getting elected, immediately lobbied for, and it took about 18 months, but we eliminated costly health benefits for part-time elected officials. It was, again, something that everyone said you will never get people to get rid of their own benefits. Well, guess what? We did it, and it was the right thing to do for the taxpayers. Another reform that I'm really proud of and that we're seeing the benefits of is the Citizens Service Act. And that was a kind of a model ordinance which I presented to the council and was supported. And what the Citizens Service Act does is it means whenever we have an opening on a board or commission, we keep all the resumes of people who are interested. They're automatically notified, and then they're considered, so that that process is very open and transparent. And I think that all of those things are just examples of what an independent in office can actually accomplish. So now I am running, and I am running because I care so much about the future of New Jersey. You know, we have two daughters, one just turned 13, I have to get that right, and the other will be 17 in a couple of weeks. And I really want to envision a future for New Jersey where they live here, they work here in good paying jobs, they can afford to live nearby and raise families, and God willing, and legislature doing its work, we can afford to retire here. My parents now live in Tennessee. That is not the way we want to raise our multi-generational families. You know, I had to look for the source of this quote, and it's actually from an economist in the Nixon administration. But it's things that can't continue don't. And I think that what we have seen since the collapse in 2007, 2008, is that things that can't continue won't, and that we need to continue to make more changes. So that really lays out the three biggest issues for New Jerseyans in this district and throughout the state, and those are taxes, jobs, and education. You know, on the tax front, Governor Christie and the legislature have really started to do some of the things that we need. We've seen at the local level the benefit of changes to the binding arbitration, the 2% tax cap, and the requirement that union members contribute a small amount to their own benefits. This year alone in Morristown, that's saving us about $300,000, which is a full point on the tax rate. At the same time, as great as that sounds, what's happened is we've lost some of those tax rebates that we have been getting as property taxpayer. So the net average statewide is really something like an 18% increase in property taxes over the last 3 years. So while you don't see it in your municipal bill, you may not see it immediately in your state bill, at the end of the day, there's another reason why we all feel like taxes are still one of the leading problems in the state of New Jersey. At the same time, I know, and I think you all know, that we can't cut our way into growth. You know, you strip away, you say we're doing more with less, then we're doing less with less. And then, can we do anything at all? Everything really is connected.
You're telling you
Property tax is getting competition.
Agreeing with you.
bring Bosco.
I thought about bringing our dog because I thought he would really like it. So now I'm going to talk about the subject of jobs. And, you know, things happen for a reason. As I told those girls, in hindsight, everything is sort of connected. In 2012, I served for about 7 months as the executive director of the Morris County Economic Development Corporation. There, I worked with all different towns throughout the county with their leaders to try to identify what their opportunities were for economic development and what the obstacles were to achieving those goals. It actually involved spending some money, and that's where we ran into political trouble. It's not just about marketing, investments in planning, investments in infrastructure, transportation, and housing. Those are all the things that high-quality employers want. Above all, employers are attracted to highly educated workers, especially younger workers and the next generation of workers who want to be in places where they can easily and quickly get to work, get home, enjoy their lives without sitting in traffic forever, and ideally they want to get there with mass transit. We all know that in Morris County and in this district, infrastructure, roads, alternate modes of transportation still haven't been addressed. They're also looking for creative, tolerant, and diverse communities. You know, many of you have probably read some of Richard Florida's books about the creative class, Who's Your City? At the end of the day, employers want to be in areas where they know they're going to have a great supply of creative workers who are going to create the jobs of the future. They need accessible and affordable housing nearby. And what all of this points to for District 25 is the need for sort of suburbia re-envisioned. We see empty office parks. We see, other than 287 right now, roads and bridges that are in need of repair. We see in times of storms that our current setup for our power infrastructure is not reliable. We see in the open question of the Highlands Act, a question about where we're going to get drinking water to sustain our current and future residents. There are many, many issues that are calling for our attention in the state. On the topic of education, there's a lot being said right now, and as a parent of two school-age kids, I see the strengths of the system that we have, but I also see the need to grow. We hear more and more from employers that college graduates aren't prepared to work for them. The new core curriculum approach, I think, is going to help us all head in the right direction, but at the end of the day, I think we need to put a lot more of our time and energy into figuring out how we're going to turn out students who create the jobs of the future. So now to the fun part, I think, which is the realities of this race against incumbent Michael Patrick Carroll and also Assemblyman Anthony Bugo Jr. Because as you know, you can vote for one, you can vote for two, but you don't get to pick who you're running against. I think what I present is extremely different. It's really different than anything that's been seen before. There are no Democrats for this position on the ballot in November, which gives an experienced independent candidate like me an unprecedented opportunity, and all of us an opportunity to vote in November for who will represent us. You know, there are about 130,000 registered voters in District 25. Only 8,000 to 9,000 votes that are cast in the June primary decide who our assemblymen will be. And in case this year, there was not even any opposition in the primary. So there really was no choice. I'm very proud to present a choice. And I'm running as an independent because I am an independent. I am in my 6th year in office, and really since 2005, so many people have come together around issues, concerns, and a shared desire to create change. In each of these races, I've met people and made friends, and I think we've shown that you really don't have to accept the status quo. I got to go to a Starbucks today outside of Morristown, and when I walked in, everyone looked chilly, and I commented to the man behind the counter that I was afraid that this evening's party might be forced indoors because of the cold weather. And he said, well, why are you having a party on a Thursday night? I said, well, I'm running for state assembly. He said, really? What party are you? I said, I'm an independent. I'm running as an independent. And he said, oh my goodness, give me your card. I live in Denville, and we need you to come there and talk to us, and I will have you to my house. And that, I have to tell you, is the reaction I have gotten, whether I stop on my bicycle in Chester or I'm down in Bernardsville trying on a pair of shoes, because right now we don't have a standalone shoe store in Morristown. Anywhere I go in the district, people are, at this time, really wanting to hear that they have some options. They know, this gentleman in particular said, fighting and filibustering. When is somebody going to get something done? Well, that's really what an independent is about. Nobody gives us a party line. Nobody tells us who we owe something to. I represent all of you and everybody in the district, and everybody, whether or not they vote for me. Everyone keeps probably an Outlook contact book or something, or a database. Mine is thousands of people. It doesn't have a column for party affiliation. If you asked me which of the people who support me is a Republican or a Democrat or unaffiliated, I honestly couldn't tell you. And I certainly know you can't tell by footwear, as I had one gentleman in Birkenstocks tell me yesterday when we were discussing the issue of sensible gun safety regulations. So I guess what I'm here to say is I'm about ideas. I'm an industrial designer. I'm not so much about ideology or inflexibility. I am going to be outspoken for you, but really I'm never outrageous. My kids might beg to differ, but I am a very practical, reasonable, fair-minded person. And I'm really ready to get to work for all of us to start to, like Governor Christie, try to bring sides together speak out for what the majority of us are thinking and do what needs to be done so that we can all look forward to staying here in New Jersey. So on that note, I think there's supposed to be an ask. I don't have that card. My ask for you today, because we intended this to be kind of a small but very productive gathering, and it has been, is to ask each of you to think about who you know who lives in District 25. You can find a map on my website. It goes from Boonton to Bernardsville and west to Washington Township. Get your email lists ready, get your contact databases ready, your Twitter accounts and all of those things, because we'll be using all of them. And certainly continue to stay up late at night sending payments on PayPal. It's really a wonderful thing. So thanks again, everyone, for coming out. It's going to be a very busy few months, but we know how to do this. We know how to win, and we are going to make news. Thank you.